Everybody. We may move this around as we start. Make sure this works too. I want to thank everybody for coming out to the meeting this month. This is a wonderful turnout. So I want to thank all of you for building community with us. I'm going to speak later on in the meeting, so I'm going to turn over. My name's John Doyle, for those of you who don't know me. There's a sign-up sheet going around. Please sign up. That's how we keep your email. You can add your phone number. You'll get a text from us before the next meeting, so it's very helpful information. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it along to Beverly, one of our officers, who's going to do the intro of our guest speaker.
Thank you so much, John. For those of you who haven't already, buy a coffee. Peter is, again, being so generous to give this space, and so please make sure you're supporting him for coffee. I am pleased as heck to introduce to you all Wil Fisher, who is the founding partner of Unit 2 Development. Don't know if that's your official title, but it is now.
Sounds good.
So one of the very interesting developments coming out of the whole City of Yes proposals, which we've talked about in this meeting before, is the potential opportunity to create ancillary dwelling units, or ADUs. And so I started talking to Wil a couple of months ago, because he is one of the resident experts, having a long history working for New York City and its respective agencies. And so I would say that there's probably nobody who understands them better at this point, and understanding that this is a very much a program in its infancy. And so we wanted to just share with you some of the basics, some things that you might not know, in case this is something that you or your neighbors might want to consider at some point. So over to Wil.
Great, and thank you, Beverly. That was a very generous introduction. I have just 5 of these printouts, and I have to keep one for myself, I'm afraid. So I'll have this over to City Island Rising soon. I wanted to thank Beverly and to John and to everyone for hosting me. Probably about 6 to 8 minutes here, right? Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have a long agenda? So again, my name is Wil Fisher. I spent about 10 years in New York City government. I don't represent the city currently. I have worked on a number of things, including single-family home reconstruction after Hurricane Sandy back in 2012, as well as other sorts of affordable housing, resiliency, and infrastructure initiatives throughout the 5 boroughs. And so back when, in the late 2024, when City of Yes, this big rezoning was in discussion, a couple of former colleagues and I started paying very close attention to the implications and benefits for single-family and 2-family homeowners. So accessory dwelling units, which of course I'm here to talk about, are something that has been sort of implemented in many other jurisdictions throughout the United States. New York is very thankfully catching up, and I think it's to the benefit of a lot of folks who are small property owners. And so in other places in the country, we've seen these types of ADUs be legalized, and that can be anything from a garage conversion or a basement conversion to constructing, a small tiny home in your backyard. And so I will probably just go through a few details of how this applies in general throughout New York City, and then I have a slide at the very end to talk about its application here on City Island in particular. And so my company, what we do is, starting with free feasibility consultations, we're helping to educate folks on what their opportunities and what benefits they can take advantage of now that City of Yes has passed. City of Yes, which was formally enacted in December 2024, was really one of the biggest overhauls to zoning since zoning was introduced back in the 1960s. And so one of the, and again, I'm not representing the city here, but just going back to what one of the city's key messages in rolling this out was a little bit more housing in every neighborhood. And so what we're talking about here is not, any large development. This is small incremental, finding additional units where we can in a low impact way to help house our family and our neighbors and generate a little bit of additional rental income. So if you look on page 3, this is sort of, I know few folks have access to the diagram here, but there's a map here showing sort of where in the city these units are most likely and most possible to be built. Generally, we're looking at Eastern Queens and Staten Island as really the hotspots, places with more single-family properties, more driveways, more garages. Going to slides 4 and 5, sort of what we're talking about here again is an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, is really just one more unit on your property. The way that the city defines these is for a 1 or 2 family property. Many of them are now subject to additional requirements, able to add an additional apartment, an additional ADU of up to 800 square feet. And so again, these are necessarily small, incremental, often described as the granny flats or mother-in-law suites. These are terms that have been used historically for these, but these are sort of in addition to what's on the property today. And so, the benefits here are really flexibility more than anything. And so from the literature and from other cities that have done this in the past, we see that in some cases you'll find the following examples. So, and we have clients who have many of these examples as well. So someone whose mother is looking to eventually, maybe considering going into a skilled nursing facility, instead constructing a unit so that she can live independently and have a caretaker come to the home and stay on site instead of being separated from the family. Some folks looking to rent out an additional apartment for some income until their child gets home from college, and they're looking to stay in the neighborhood before they, get a good job and go get their own place. So this is this kind of flexibility that we're getting here for the first time in these 1 to 2 family properties. And really, it's about maximizing the value and the flexibility in the way that you can take advantage of property that you already have. And so going through sort of some of the restrictions and constraints here, again, I mentioned that these can take a number of different forms, from basement apartments, garage conversions, backyard, new structures. So City Island is unique here in which the R3A zoning, which is prominent here, basically prohibits any type of new construction accessory dwelling unit. So that is this R3A and a few other of the very lowest density zoning districts prohibit ADUs being constructed as a new detached structure. So if you think about kind of the modern tiny home movement, what you might see in Better Homes and Gardens, that kind of thing, adding a new structure to your yard just for this is not generally going to be permitted on City Island. The other thing that impacts that are restrictions on building in the flood zone. And so for the purpose of accessory dwelling units, the city looks at both the current and the projected future flood zones. And so the city's looking ahead to the 2050s and even 2060s on making sure that we're not adding more housing in the places that are most at risk of flooding. And so generally what is going to be most possible here in City Island is a combination of converting existing garages, converting existing basements, and then in some other cases even partitioning larger homes into a greater number of units, not to exceed 3 generally. And so I've kind of summarized this on the last slide, so we'll go here to City Island in focus. And so like I mentioned, the R3A zoning adds these restrictions, which generally folks are not going to be able to do new construction. But for people who have an existing basement who are outside the flood zone, for people who have an existing garage that's in pretty good shape and that can be retrofitted and converted to become an apartment, or folks, for example, if you're in a house that, again, for example's sake, is 2,400 square feet, and you wanted to divide that into 2 apartments, sort of the main unit, and add an additional unit there with a kitchen and bathroom that is suitable for a family member or for rental. That is something that, in many cases, is now permitted for the first time. And so, really in City Island, my estimation from having looked at some of the data and some of the mapping is that really the total number of properties that are eligible in City Island to do something like this is between 150 and 200. And from peer cities that have implemented this type of legislation in the past, not all of those get built at once. Many of those never get built ever. But it provides a good amount of flexibility for the homeowners that are in that type of situation, who do have the equity to draw on to construct those types of units. For homeowners who are interested, and I'm not affiliated with this program, but there is also a New York City grant and loan program that has its doors open for just a couple more weeks. And for people that fit in a certain income band and certain set of other eligibility criteria, the city is willing in some circumstances to provide a low interest loan or grant to help create these types of units, in particular when they're going to be used for affordable housing, rented at modest rates that are below, I believe, below 100% of the area median income. If you build one of these on your own, with your own money, you can do whatever you want with it. You can rent it out You can rent it out on the private market. You can have a family member there. You can do different uses over time. But in general, the requirements are, these are for owner-occupied property, so this is not something where developers can come in and purchase houses and flip them and add these types of units. This is meant to help existing homeowners add flexibility to their own situation. And so the quick plug for my company is that we provide free feasibility consultations to anybody. We can basically get back to you within 90% likelihood the zoning district, the property configurations, other feasibility and site conditions that might impact the eligibility. And then we have a team of architects and consultants and financing options that we can help bring to you so that we sort of provide this end-to-end solution. So definitely glad to take questions, but also would absolutely be glad to prepare a feasibility report for anybody who's interested, including in this room and your neighbors, because I think it's a really good opportunity. And again, City of Yes was a big deal. It was a lot of changes. There was a lot of controversy, but this particular aspect is something that is meant for homeowners, existing homeowners, not for developers. And it's a good opportunity. Again, that flexibility, it can be rental income today, it can be housing for a family member tomorrow, and all without a really big impact to the neighborhood. So we'd be glad to answer any questions. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Just two things, everyone. One, if you don't have a copy of the presentation, we're going to get a copy and we'll put it on our Facebook tomorrow and we'll e-blast it out to the entire membership, so don't worry about that. Two, as Will calls on you, just hand them the mic. That way we can carry it to the recording. That way we can make sure we get answers to your questions. Andrea's got her hand up.
Thank you, gentlemen. Hi, Andrea. Good evening.
This is not directly relevant to what you're talking about, but a lot of people on city islands have existing cottages and existing basement apartments. And is there a way to make those legal, or are they legal? Like I have a cottage that actually has a certificate of occupancy. Can I rent it out or?
Great question. So everybody heard that, right? Existing structures that might be non-compliant. So yeah, so that's a great question, Andrea. And we're seeing this really throughout the city, and a big part of the City of Yes and the resulting sort of rulemaking and legislation that's come out of it is the city is recognizing where these conditions exist is really all over, and a number of them, it doesn't make sense to keep an entire class of apartments illegal and below the radar, because that can generate a great number of issues. There are a number of ways to legalize existing spaces that are non-compliant. There are also, and this very much depends on the particular property, there are also ways to simply recognize that the unit existed in that manner before a certain period. And so if, for example, the unit existed before zoning in the 1960s, that is one particular path that you could make a feasible argument to the city. And so I think that we have a lot of clients come to us with existing illegal basement apartments. Sometimes they're rented to somebody outside the family, sometimes it's a family member. But while not easy, there's definitely more of a pathway here to legalize spaces that existed before, and we would definitely be glad to have a look at that for you.
What's the turnaround time for this? So you submit an application, you put all your information, say, we go for a consultation and you say, yeah, you seem eligible, so you fill out the application. What's normally the timeline before you get a response?
Yeah, so we'll have a response to you about preliminary feasibility within less than a week. The process will involve this is a sort of full suite of permit applications with the Department of Buildings and with other agencies as well, if you want to move forward though. And so we can turn the feasibility around very quickly. The question then is doing things like getting a property survey, doing an inspection of existing conditions, testing for lead and asbestos in any spaces that you would be changing or disturbing, and then filing for permits with the city. In general, what we're seeing as far as the permits, of course, the Department of Buildings, it's very likely that most of these will require interaction with DEP, because we're expecting that ADUs in general are going to require fire sprinklers. It's likely that you'll need to run a new water line into the property. If there are some cases in which you might be able to use the existing water and sewer connections, but generally for those permits, we're expecting somewhere between 4 to 5 months for that whole process. I think for this DOB has only been accepting applications for these since October of last year, so a lot of this is still, we're collecting information on how the process goes. But in terms of our process to begin design, we can begin within just a couple of weeks. And then I think here, if we're talking about new construction, it's a much longer process, but converting existing spaces, if you don't need a structural engineer and you don't need foundation work, that's quite a lot easier.
And so, but from when you submit that application, from like the city approval essentially, what's that turnaround time? Like,
Oh,
when
sure.
do you know they say yes?
Oh, right. Yeah, so we could have approvals from the city probably within somewhere between 4 to 6 months, I would expect. And that would require some amount of design work to be completed. And so, we have a very good idea of what the rules are. It's more a matter of confirming for your specific property exactly how they're going to be interpreted. But again, we can get you 90% likelihood from the very beginning at no cost, and then it's simply a matter of moving ahead from there.
Thank you.
Does anyone else? Jason says anything. Give him the mic.
The grant program, I know it's not something you're affiliated with, but is that an income-based grant program?
Yeah, it is. So the city grant program is called +1 ADU, and so that can be easily found on the HPD website. I believe the income threshold for that is 165% of AMI. I won't be able to tell you what exactly that is right now, but it is dependent on your household size and household income. And there's some other restrictions with that, including needing to hold the property for some amount of time after the grant is dispersed. Again, the city needs to prove, and it makes a lot of sense, the city needs to prove that if they're putting limited city funding towards one of these projects, it is producing the kind of affordable housing the city is interested in.
So, when you say that zoning effectively prohibits freestanding ADUs, what is that based on? Parking availability, or?
Like, are there exceptions to that?
Right.
If I want a tiny home.
Right. So the way that the zoning effectively prohibits new construction ADUs here is that R3A, the R3A zoning district, of which nearly all of City Island is included, new ADUs are not permitted to be built in that district if they are greater than a certain distance from mass transit. So there are some R3A districts that exist in places like Whitestone or Bayside and Queens, which are close to the LIR, the 7 train. Here we're too far to get over that. So it's there's no substance or reasoning behind it other than just those types of districts are prohibited. The new construction ones are also, for what it's worth, prohibited in the flood zones. And so City Highland sort of has both of those in most places, with the exception of some folks who are up on top of the hill here.
You said that you have already kind of researched City Island and identified properties. I know I looked up on the tool. I mean, we have our property. There were quote unquote cottages, like built 125 years ago, that were used as rentals. But no, we don't do that any longer. But if it already said on the tool, if you look up and said your property isn't eligible, is that kind of like a final say, and then to legitimize a building that has been there for 125 years, right, that already has like sewer, electric, gas, all that. I mean, is it completely out of the realm of possibility at this point to legitimize those, or?
Yeah, so those are both really good questions. So, sorry, what was your name? Anush. So Anush's question was well, I'll start with the second question first, which is oftentimes conditions that were existing a long, long time ago, particularly ones that existed before zoning and or before you owned the property, particularly if they're listed on the certificate of occupancy that your property has. So oftentimes those types of things are grandfathered in, and the city, it's very, very case specific of whether the city would want to come down on you for with a violation, for example, for something like that is contrary to the C of O. If no C of O exists, or if you can prove that certain conditions existed a long time ago, there are certain exceptions there, but it's really hard to say without knowing the particulars. I would also say the first question, there is a tool that the city has where you can enter your address and see in a very general sense whether you're eligible or not. I would say, definitely feel free to reach out. If it says you're not and you're just interested in learning more about why, there are probably between 20 and 25 different site-specific factors that impact any property's eligibility for this, and so I'd be glad to tell you what those are, and if there's any sort of other exceptions that we found. In particular, we're also looking at, we've probably done 200, 250 of these free consultations to date throughout the city, and so we're also keeping a list of homeowners that are excluded for one or the other reason, so that either if there's a moment for legislative advocacy, or if there is a rule change or update later on, that we can reach back out to folks and say, this has changed, the lane is clear now. Thanks.
I went into that tool and I added my address, and I was not eligible for do a small tiny house in the backyard. I have no basement, so I was approved, or they said that I could do it in my attic. However, my question is, due to the fact that it's going to be a livable space, is that going to change my taxes?
So question about property taxes. So the city has indicated, including in hearings about this particular topic, that if you're filing for a new building permit or what's called an Alt 1 permit to change the use or occupancy of the building, that is one of the primary sources by which DOF will see that there's a lot of work being done, and it may potentially trigger a reassessment. There's not any information out there about what that number will be or how to estimate it. So that is one of the gray areas right now. There is a difference between the assessed value of the property and the tax class that you're in. And so since these are only eligible on 1 to 2 family properties, tax class 1 is 1 to 3 family, so it won't change your tax class in almost any situation, but it may trigger a reassessment by the Department of Finance eventually. And again, unfortunately, we haven't heard by how much or exactly what the methodology will be used, so that is an unknown right now.
How does your company handle a request for someone who's very interested in an accessory dwelling unit, but the property has a violation or two on it? Do you help clear that up? Or?
Yeah. So we get a lot of those. In particular, most often is basement apartments that are occupied contrary to what the C of O says. But yeah, we have a team that's a third-party consultant, but that we think very highly of, who is good at clearing those types of jobs. And I think when it comes to existing violations, those definitely need to be cleared before DOB will permit additional work on the property, as you can imagine. But doing that as part of one architectural and permit package can help lower costs versus doing both of them individually.
So your organization, if there's somebody there that would help with the violations, cure them, is what they say, cure the violations.
Right. Yeah, we have a third-party consultant that's in our network that we've worked with before, who's done plenty of that, very experienced.
Anyone else have a question for Will? Okay, Will, you're going to stick around for a little while, so if people want to get you one-on-one after the meeting.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff's sensitive, so let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you, John. And I want to just say, very good questions. Clearly, folks have been doing their research, so it's great to come with a very educated audience. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Will. And again, we'll be making sure the presentation is emailed out to everybody, and we'll put it, we can have one of those PDF things where we put it on our website so people can look there as well. But it'll be on our Facebook and all the other fine things as well. So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. As you can see, we have a full agenda. I'm going to breeze through some of this stuff because I know people are hot in here, and I don't want to keep people longer than they absolutely have to be here. And also, a lot of this is self-explanatory. So first, we had our annual cleanup day, which was sponsored by Fordham University and Senator Fernandez's office. Over 50 people came out, and about half of those were Fordham University students, so that was really great. We got down to Belden Point. We cleaned up a lot of garbage, and then afterwards, Peter was nice enough to host us in the back here. We got some pizza for all the Fordham students, and had some nice conversations with them about what we need to do going forward. And they want to come back and do something in the fall, so we're going to find something good to do here, and we're going to just kind of keep this partnership ongoing. So some good things came out of that. As everyone knows, our last meeting, we had the 45th Precinct Captain here, Captain Anderson Ortiz. He answered a lot of questions that people had about traffic and everything else on the island, and this is, I'm sure everyone remembers, about 48 hours later, there was a mass enforcement action on City Island. Some people got ticketed, some people got booted, this and that, but they are taking it very seriously. I know, because I've gotten some notifications from people. I know Saturday there wasn't a lot of enforcement on the island, and then I know on Sunday there was a lot of enforcement, particularly by the traffic circle. I know this firsthand because I was coming home with my parents and got caught in it. How did, just by a show of hands, who was out on Sunday and got caught in the traffic enforcement? Okay. Did people like what they were doing where they were closing off the lanes and directing it?
Yes.
Okay.
I came
Mm-hmm.
the Orchard Beach way.
Yes.
Off the Hutch.
Mm-hmm.
And got up to where that new light is.
Yes.
And I said, oh. So I started watching. They need to do that every day.
Okay.
Not just Sunday.
So you like it. How many people would agree with what Teresa just said? Raise their hands. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. How many people, is there anyone here who disagrees or has a different point of view and wants to be heard? Okay, we do open it up for those things. It's, we're not gonna heckle people here. There are other places where people go for that. But we are not gonna heckle anybody. If someone feels differently, let us know. Obviously, we pass along all these concerns to the 45th Precinct, and they pass it along to the Orchard Beach detail.
Can I make two suggestions?
Of course, David.
I think there should be a car in the middle of the emergency lane to prevent people from using it. And also the officer who's at the traffic light where the fishing boat is, I think he should be out on City Island Avenue when the light is red to keep the traffic moving.
The fishing boat, you mean by the Jack's Bait Tap? Okay.
I think they should be out there moving traffic along rather than be guided by the traffic light.
Okay. Good to know. Clearly you had some fans over there who were clapping, so clearly your opinion's not a... Go ahead.
Some of them are doing that.
Yeah.
And sometimes the cars at the light are not paying attention.
I agree with that. I'm just sharing from my own personal experience because I came back in kind of the rush hour of Sunday night. We usually make the turn off Bridge Street. They wouldn't allow us to make the turn off Bridge Street, but rather than complain, because I realized it's for the greater good and I'm not trying to hold anybody up, I just went down the avenue.
Out of curiosity,
Go ahead.
we're residents and we live here and we pay our taxes. Why can't we have our own lane? We don't have to wait online where everybody's
No, I get that. I get that.
I just want to come home. I don't want to wait online. I want to come home.
I get that. I totally get that. We can speak about them opening up Bridge Street again. I mean, the traffic lane is also an emergency lane, and if the emergency vehicle needs to get through, they need a dedicated lane for that. I don't know if the road can be widened. No, I respect. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to talk over you. I respect what you're saying. I don't know if they can. I don't think they can widen the roadway, but maybe we can talk about different enforcement actions. Okay, because Jason, go ahead.
On the Bridge Street portion.
Yeah.
I noticed they did a much better job, like going, down Orchard Beach Road and the traffic circle of putting new markings in as well to help with like identifying lanes. That road is an absolute nightmare. Is there anything actually being done to that?
Absolutely. Actually, a little later on in the agenda here, I did not plan it like this, but we had a meeting with the deputy mayor's office. So just so everyone understands, and I know we've went through this a few times for the people who come to the meetings regularly, but we have new people here, so I want to go through it for everyone, so everyone understands what we're talking about. So the roadways within Pelham Bay Park are under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department. Parks Department doesn't have a lot of normal roadways like this where people are normally driving through. They work with the Department of Transportation, but the roadways are not DOT standardized. It's difficult to put things into the 3-on-1 map, as I know you and I have talked about in the past, and the roadways are not kept in good repair. But the Parks Department and the Department of Transportation are under the same deputy mayor. So a few years ago, we had a walkthrough with the deputy mayor's office. They came out, that's when they fixed the Miniford Moat. Lake Orchard, everyone remembers that. That got better. They did some roadway repairs throughout the park, not enough, some. And they also fixed They fixed the Revelle Street catch basin. I know it's not 100%, but they did do some work to that basin as well. So they did. I said the Miniford mode. So they did some spot stuff. They are still actually trying to do more. We sent them a long letter, which I probably have over there somewhere, like 5 or 6 page letter last year. Every site, photos, past 311 complaints, everything. So unfortunately, when we had a change of mayor, the people who we were working with, they're no longer in those same positions. So our call this month was with the new folks who are in charge, and they're going to come out here for a site visit, and hopefully we're going to start addressing some of these things.
How long
Go either one, and then we'll go.
How long is Bridge Street gonna be closed like that? I mean, JP's and Lobster House must be starving, right?
Yeah, I will get the Bridge Street ETA. I know that's a part of the sewer construction project, but I will get you an ETA, and I'll put it on Nancy.
There is a crosswalk right on the other side of the bridge,
Mhm.
but it's not well painted. It needs to be painted.
Yes, actually, Kim has been on top of that for a long time, and I totally agree that Kim's been on top of the crosswalk over there for a long time. We sent the DOT out there. They said they repaired it. They did not repair it. I sent them additional photos. And at our next meeting, which is also on here, the DOT commissioner herself for the borough is going to be here. So you're going to get to bring these complaints right to one of the change makers who exist. I know you had your hand up, and then we'll go back to Andrea. Mm-hmm. I will find that out when I ask for the ETA. That's not a problem. And then, what's your name? Francis. Okay.
What was the question?
The question was, do we know if they're going to pave Bridge Street when they're done? Which is a good question. I want to make sure I get back to you by name. And again, we'll put some of this stuff on our social media. So go ahead, Andrea.
I don't know what was actually happening on Sunday, but I want to follow up on the differential treatment of City Island residents. I was once caught in a traffic circle when they closed the island, and they actually made everybody who was waiting leave. And I told them, like, I live on the island, and they said, too bad, and I had to go someplace and have lunch for 2 hours or whatever. So I think in situations where the island is closed, or things are really stopped, they could let island residents on, because we're just gonna go park at our place, we're not gonna clog up traffic, so you
Yeah.
can't give us preference just because it's bad traffic.
No, you're right. And remember, I'm going to use your point to just make a side note to everyone here. Remember, last summer, on 2 separate occasions, the bridge was closed off. It was closed off after that boat went on fire, which was early in the summer, and when that gentleman who lived on the island lost his life on the bridge that you see the memorial for.
Yeah.
So there have been 2 issues where they shut the bridge down and traffic for hours. So this is no longer a rare occurrence in what Andrea is saying. So yes, I'll follow up with the police on that. You were not the only one. I know you handled it. You handled it patiently, but we did have some folks who were there who happened to be on the older side who had to get medications in a certain period of time, and we actually had to call the captain and get some of these people rushed over. So your concern is a lot of legitimacy there. Did anyone have anything else about the traffic before I move on to the other stuff? Okay. I already talked about the deputy mayor's office. This is also going to be dealing with some of our flooding issues. So right now, kind of the targets are obviously the end of Ditmar Street, which is we have the flood sensors at. One of the worst flooding locations in the city, believe it or not. So keep that in mind. Within Pelham Bay Park itself, Turtle Cove is priority number 1. And then on the avenue, right by the medical office to Tier Street, because there's no irrigation there. That water, once it traps up, has nowhere to go. And remember, as the weather gets nicer, it's a little muggy in here, so I know I can speak candidly, we do get a lot of West Nile alerts. So it is a public health necessity that these things get addressed, and we are advocating for that in our conversations with the higher-ups at City Hall.
Excuse me, John.
Yes.
Speaking of West Nile, do you know if the city is going to be spraying again this year?
I'm sure they're going to be spraying. They haven't yet done an announcement, though, but I'm sure they're going to be spraying.
That's a big problem, because mosquitoes breed in standing water.
Mm-hmm.
Spraying has killed the monarch butterflies. I mean, it's a disaster.
Okay.
And what we need to do is spend a little more money and have people go out and treat the standing water. And by the way, at the park, clean the bathrooms rooms at night and lock them and leave detergent in the toilet, because my
Okay.
experience has been getting to Orchard Beach in the summer, and in the bathroom, every toilet is full of larvae. Because people go use the toilet, flush it, and now there's nice clean water.
Mhm.
I mean, I lived in Panama,
Yeah.
I had an inspector in my apartment checking for standing water, and we don't do that. And we spray and kill everything.
So what we're also planning to do is that I believe the city's going to make an announcement for who the new Pelham Bay Park administrator is going to be very soon. And we're going to try to bring that person, he or she, whoever they may be,
Please.
to a meeting. But in the meantime, if you can just write me up a little bit of your concerns, and I will send them to the Parks Department. We'll try to get it addressed for you. Okay? We also have had some calls with the Waterfront Alliance. They want to do a flood solutions fair. We were going to make that our June meeting, but then the DOT commissioner volunteered to come. So given that the flood season tends to happen during the summer and in the early fall, we're going to kind of see when's a good time. I know people go on vacation. I'm looking forward to going on vacation. I'm sure you all are too. So we'll try to figure out a good time to do that, and we'll keep you posted. We just, as I said earlier, we did our Stop the Bleed class, which about 15 City Islanders showed up to. Kim was there with me. We all learned how to dress wounds and other fun stuff. Building on that and building on our COAD initiative, Community Organizations Active in Disaster, we're going to be doing a CPR class, and it's going to be, everyone can register. We're going to probably do it with the Pearl because they were very interested in it. They reached out. And thanks to our Assembly member Benedetto, it's going to be free of charge for folks. He's going to cover a lot of the cost. So it's going to save you all probably $40-50. So we will keep you posted as to the date on that. Probably going to be in early fall because we want that class packed because we have to pay no matter what. So we're going to try to pack the class, keep it going, keep it something that you can all enjoy. At one of the last meetings, I know someone talked about doing a Know Your Rights training. This is something, given the concerns about ICE in our community, ICE everywhere, but in this community. Thus far, there haven't been any serious complaints. That doesn't mean it will stay that way.
No, they're here.
Okay. But we will be planning a Know Your Rights training, probably going to happen in the fall, unless there's a serious incident here or someone makes us aware of something, in which case we'll rush it and we'll do it during the summer. But I just want people to know they brought it up here, the request came in, it hasn't fallen on deaf ears. We are going to arrange that training. As people may remember, about a year ago we had an attorney come who did a whole presentation on Know Your Rights. So I'm going to take her presentation and put it together for social media, so these people have something helpful in the time between. We had someone who generously donated their graphic design services, so we have a whole theme or different things we can post online now. It's all branded and everything, so that was nice. It was Christian Amato, for those of you who know him. He's run for office before, but he donated the services free of charge. That's the new flyer that everybody saw on the avenue. So we're going to be using, thank you, Christian, and we're going to be using a lot of those designs going forward to get people's attention. Our ferry effort continues. I'm sure everyone saw the video, 22 vacant storefronts, and now there are 24. Not great. But what we are going to do is we're going to continue with those videos. A few business owners have given us their suggestions. A few residents have volunteered to do videos telling their personal stories. And we had a call last week with Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's office, and she's interested in doing a video to support us. So, given that everything she does gets a lot of attention, this could be very good. And she is, as everyone knows, close with the mayor. But if you have ideas, please send them. Our email's right on there, so you can send it right to us.
John, do you think they've ever let people live in the stores? Like if a store's been empty, they could convert it?
Yeah, I think
It's
if
different zoning, but
the...
a lot of empty space and some.
I totally agree with this, and a number of years ago, the chamber tried to do this with the, try to get artist lofts here. And the thing was, at the time, there wasn't a lot of buy-in from the store owners, but if we have individual store owners who are interested, we can definitely bring those back and try to revive those discussions.
This is off topic.
That's fine.
Any idea of what's happening with Buddy's Hardware?
I've seen it, obviously. See, the problem here is there's the current and the undercurrent of what you hear, and we're on camera, so if I say the wrong thing, what I have heard, and it could be wrong for anyone watching at home, I don't want to be fact-checked on this one, but I've heard it's closing. That's what I've heard.
There was a news crew in front today.
Oh, okay, well, there you see, Abby's breaking news here for us. Thank you, Abby. The news crew was in front today. Yes.
Filming through us.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the store owner has questions about how to convert to residential,
Oh, yeah, if a store owner has questions on how to convert to residential, Will can also be of assistance with that. Thank you, Will. On the other end, this is kind of some, I guess, news to people here. I may have mentioned it at our last meeting, but since we have the DOT commissioner coming, if people didn't see, since our last meeting, they installed a camera right after the Pelham Bay Bridge. So just be mindful of that.
Was that a speed camera?
Yes.
what's the speed limit there?
The speed limit there is 30 miles an hour, I believe. Yeah, it's not part of the slow zone here.
It's
So,
it's the Pelham Bay Bridge?
the Pelham Bay Bridge. So keep that in mind. I don't want to see anyone get tickets. So mind your speed. And then the second thing is, while it's not enough over the weekend, since we've been complaining, the right turnoff lane, which kind of looked like the moon landing, we were on the call with the mayor's office, and on the call with the commissioner, we mentioned how poor that looks. And we put in 311s over a month ago. Senator Fernandez and her office followed up on that. And as a result, they did do some patchwork. No one's saying it's great and that the whole situation is great, but there was some patchwork done over there. It's a little bit better than it once was. So I guess if they're going to start charging us, you might as well fix the roadways too. And as I said already, at our next meeting will be the DOT commissioner. So we have a lot going on and going forward. Does anyone have any? The next thing is open floor. So if there's anything on here I did not mention, if anyone has a concern, Stephen, hold on. I'm going to give everybody the microphone so the people at home can hear.
Two things.
Yes.
Will there be or can there be senior citizen discounts to get into Orchard Beach parking? Because I think when you go in, if you leave and you come back again, you have to pay again. Is there anything that can be done to have senior citizen rates or something for the senior citizen?
You had two questions, you said.
And the second is coming off the Hutch south, going to the bridge. Tremendous number of lights that are out. We're back into the same situation we were about a year or so ago. It was improved, but now there are areas which are totally black. So I think that has to be addressed.
So agree with you on both. On the senior citizen discount, we did raise this a few years ago with the then park administrator. I guess the disparity in funding needs to be funded by the council or by the city. It's budget time, so we can bring that up to them again. Unfortunately, I guess they did just balance the budget, so maybe they'll find some more money for something like that. I can't imagine it's a great cost, but it's something that would have to be done like that. Even like you say, you go to the Bronx Zoo as a comparable example. They actually pass every year in Albany a free day. It's actually state legislation that passes every year to do that. So it's something that would have to pass, even if it's just for a parking discount. But I will bring it up to them, and if it can be done, we'll mention it to the city council member.
And military discount too.
There you go.
How about disabled also?
Okay.
Because I'm disabled, I have 5 brain surgeries. I'm considered disabled.
I wrote down all 3. I put it in as all 3. On the second one, which is the lights on the on Orchard Beach Road, I 100% agree with you. I think this is a wonderful thing that I'm going to put on the list of things that DOT Commissioner could be asked about. Maybe that gets it addressed before the next meeting. If not, it is something we mentioned on our call with the Deputy Mayor's office. Not just because they're out, although I agree with you, that's an annoyance. But you go almost anywhere else in the city, on the light post, there's a number on the light pole. So you can call specifically about that light pole. In the light poles in Pelham Bay Park, they're all painted over. You can't tell which one it is. So, something that needs to be fixed even more. Monica, then Jason.
I did get a discount on parking at Orchard Beach last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
I think when we did that last week, they changed vendors, that's what he said.
Okay.
I mean, somebody told me I could, and they asked for my license. It was all done by hand, and they gave me a piece of paper, which you had to have with you, with my license plate, so you had to be in that car.
Okay.
But it was like, it went from $12 to $6.
Is it good for the whole summer, or you have to?
I used it, yeah.
Okay, you know what we'll do? This is great. We'll find out. I'll speak to you offline. We'll find out what it is, and if there's something we can e-blast out to everybody, just spread awareness. That's wonderful. Do you have another question, or was you a parking question?
Unrelated to it, yeah. Tree pruning along City Island Avenue, because like today, Mars, you can't see the red light until you're at it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple other spots, I think, along the avenue that have big trees near the lights, and then I'll just throw my own dog park.
Oh, yeah. So, love that. No, that's a good one. So those who didn't hear, he just said dog park. So that's actually a good one. On the tree pruning, yes, get me a few locations, but I wrote down Ditmars. We'll get some photos. We can send those along. On the dog park, now that the council member's been there a little while, we have to arrange a meeting with her. What we need to also do is that we need to change the zoning, because part of the special district zoning on City Island doesn't allow a dog run to be built right on the waterfront. And there are some places where on the waterfront it might actually make sense, where the city actually owns land. And, unfortunately, there are some people, I think everyone loves dogs. Some people don't want the dogs near them, so they try to turn this into a little bit of a third rail issue. Where is it going to be? And there are certain locations where it wouldn't be near anyone's home, so that might be an ideal location. But we will try to make this happen. Beverly.
Relatedly, is it true that our council member is now part of the city council's animal welfare caucus?
Yes, it is.
Is she
Yes.
the vice chair?
Oh, she's the vice. I knew she was a part of it. She told me.
I heard a rumor that
So, Councilwoman Aldebal joined the Animal Welfare Caucus. They started an Animal Welfare Caucus this year to promote the needs of animals, and I know she's a member. If she's vice chair, all the more power to her, but either way, she's on the caucus, so we know she cares about the rights of animals. She actually does, she rescues dogs too. So, for those who didn't know. Anyone else have a question, comment, concern about animals, humans, the nature, anything? Nancy.
This is history. Rosh Hashanah of 1999, I still lived in Riverdale. I used to rollerblade around Central Park twice. Starting around 5 in the morning before I went to work. That day, because West Nile had just come in, the whole 6-mile loop of Central Park was carpeted with dead monarch butterflies. They sprayed the air with toxin, and that's been, there was an article because I complained to everybody in the Daily News. A few months later, I moved here and I found out that spraying had killed all the lobsters in the Long Island Sound. Until then, I didn't realize lobsters were so close to insects. So, yes, we need to control mosquitoes, but I think it requires manpower, treating standing water, and can't just kill everything in our path because Earth has limited resources.
And it is killing all those
Okay. We'll reach out to the Department of Health on that and see what precautions they recommend. No one is questioning your integrity.
There, and then I see a truck spewing toxin and men dressed in white.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Anyone else have a question, comment, or concern before we move on from the open floor? Okay. Usually we have this time to do elected official reports. Unfortunately, elected officials couldn't join us here today or send representatives, so their loss. We'll just skip over that. And on old business, I'm going to share this going around. If you are a cell phone person, use your phone to use this QR code. This is for the Pelham Park Access Study. It's so important that we register all our complaints on this. So everyone, we're going to e-blast this out again, but we need to flood them with all the concerns, all the complaints, everything related to Pelham Bay Park. So I'm going to pass this to you, Nancy. Just take a shot of it. You can do it when you get home. It's about 5 minutes tops, maybe 10 minutes. But for all the time we spend in these meetings and in other meetings talking about the park, and I love the park as much as everyone else, we need you all to give input on the park. So please get a shot of that before you leave. Second is usually every other meeting, we bring a big map of City Island and you all put the Post-it notes on it. I just want you to know we're going through some of those Post-it notes. Some of them were more complicated than others, so we're finding good ways to address those things. I'll give an update at the next meeting. And then both car insurance and utility bills are believed to be addressed at least partially in the state budget. And I have it on good authority. They're going to start passing the state budget on Wednesday. So as we find out the contents of what they're looking to do on both the utilities and the car insurance, we'll try to share objective information with all of you. But my understanding is there's going to be a little bit of both in those in the budget bills. On new business, as I said earlier, we did our, we had the Fordham students here, so we buy cleaning supplies, we provide them with pizza because we're not horrible people, and they were nice enough to volunteer several hours of manual labor, and it was the least we can do. We also did with Peter and the Cup of Coffee, we did our Teacher Appreciation Day for PS 175. So what we did is we put coffee, bagels, little other things, things you would find up here. We're all out there for the entire staff of PS 175, teachers, support staff, crossing guards, whatever. All this costs money, so if you are inclined, if you are a person of means, you can go right to our website at cityonrising.com. There's a button on there to donate. Whatever little you can donate, we would really appreciate it. The money goes right back into the community. And unless anyone else has anything they want to announce. Oh, one thing. Dan Triber and Dan's parents' house is having their 10th annual, it's a 10th anniversary party, and it's going to be May 30th, 1 to 5. So everyone in the community is welcome to that. They usually have pizza there. It's a nice event for the kids, for the parents, but everyone is welcome. And does anyone else have anything they want to announce before we do a motion to close? You want to give an update on your labor of love or not?
Come on.
Okay.
For all the 5 and 6-year-olds who are wondering, oh, by the way, everyone, so Kim is our new proprietor of Lickety Split. So let's give her a round of applause first and foremost. And everyone's waiting with bated breath when they can get their ice cream.
So we keep aiming for a day, and it keeps getting pushed back because you just know how it goes. That house, or the building that Lickety Split is in, needed a lot of TLC after being left empty for a year and a half. So we're working on it, but we hope to be open this week, and the ice cream is in there. So we're just trying to get a couple of compliance things taken care of, and as soon as we can open, we will. And we even have a couple of former employees coming back, and plenty of teenage girls and a couple of teenage boys as well will be serving everyone ice cream as soon as possible.
Do you have any lactose-free ice cream?
We have one lactose-free vegan vanilla, and we will have also some sorbets that are vegan and lactose-free as well.
All right.
I'm I have a suggestion box and a little favorite flavor thing, so just everyone be patient with us. We're going to start small and then we'll expand as we go, because we have to get a whole set of people learning how to do the ice cream, including myself. I'm trying to get my muscles. I'm painting as practice for getting my scooping muscles ready. So we're excited, and hopefully it'll happen very soon.
Yeah, that's great news. And also I can say, when you're walking by and you look at all the work Kim and Steve's her husband, put into the storefront, the outside area, it's beautiful. They really have put in a lot of work into that place, and it certainly, with other people who used to own it, it needed to be modernized. I think they would agree to that as well. So, we really appreciate that, and I think all the little kids on City Island are going to love that piece of news right there. So, without further ado, I'm going to close the meeting. Thank you all for coming out here today. Just make sure to get this off.